viewers, welcome to CEC lectures. Myself Dr. Preeti Jagwani. I am from Department of Computer Science, Aryabhat College, University of Delhi. Now in this lecture series of our introduction to programming using C++, we have presently we are learning the topic of basics of input output and file handling. So in the previous lecture we have taken basics of input output and we have seen what actually streams are and how this whole input output scenario is taking place. Now coming to more specifically talking about file handling, in the previous lecture we have also seen the header files which are there to provide the functionality of input and output. Now here we will specifically talk about the classes which are used to perform input and output related to files. So C++ provides many classes to perform input and output of the characters, which is actually in the form of a sequence of bytes, and that is what you called a stream. So that input of characters we can send it to a file or we can read it from a file. So to perform input and output of characters to or from a file, we have many classes. Here are some of them. So one is of a stream. So as we say of a stream, so that means the stream class to write onto the files or as in output, and then we have if stream. So if stream is an stream class which is there to read from the files, that means taking input as the first letter of the class name indicates, and then we have f stream. So f stream is a stream class which is there to provide the both the functionalities, which is read and write. We can read from the files or we can write to the files. So of stream, if stream, f stream. And then these classes are there to provide the functionality, and these classes are derived directly or indirectly, we can say, from the classes I stream and O stream. And we have already used objects are cin and cout, and we have used it so many times. So we need to specify here that cout is an object of class O stream and cin is an object of class I stream. Now coming to when we talk about how do we start the file handling in the programming. So there are the most basic thing is we will kind of create a file, then write something to it, and then in the another program or maybe in the same program we will be taking that output from the file and we will be displaying it onto the screen. So whatever we are going to print or whatever we are going to store will be stored on the permanent storage of the file, and after opening that file we will be taking that particular we can say material from the file and we will be printing it onto the screen, or maybe we can take the material from one file and store it onto the another file. That could also be done. So let's try to have it with the help of a very simple program which is shown on the screen. And then you have #include iostream, #include fstream, and using namespace standard. And now you understand the significance of both, which is iostream and fstream. So fstream is there for when we want to do the operations simultaneously, which is to read the file and which is to write onto the file both. Now within the main we have created one object of class of stream, and that object is we can say that object has given the name of my file, and of stream is the class. So it is the similar manner what we do when we say whatever class is, let's say class book, so book B1. So similarly we have of stream my file. The only difference here is we have not written this of stream. This is already written in the C++ library. We have just taken it, created an object. And now what are we going to do? We are going to pass a command which says my file dot open example.txt. Now example.txt is the name of the file, and this name of the file will be coming under the double inverted commas inside the parameter list of open. So basically open is actually a method which is being accessed with the help of the object myFile of a stream class, and the file which we want to open, the name of that particular file is example.txt. Now what will happen? Now let us say there can be two scenarios. One is you do not have example.txt, then in that situation this example.txt we can say will be created. Why? Because we have seen myFile.open, that means that will be kind of open, and if it is already available then also it will open or not. Now that's a question which is you need to decide in why on the basis of the object. Object is of stream. It is the object is not of in if stream, it is the object of stream, and here we have written myFile.open example.txt, and example.txt will be open in the memory. Ultimately it is going to get into the hard disk. And now see what we are doing. We have written myFile, then less than sign, which we generally use with cout. So cout and then stream operator, and then the kind of content. Here instead of cout we are using myFile, and then myFile, that stream insertion operator, writing this to a file with a /n. That means this string, which is nothing but writing this to a file, will be written inside the file which is attached to the object. File which is attached to the object my file is example.txt, and the string which is writing this to file will be written into that example.txt, and then we have simply said my file dot close with a simple return 0. Now what will happen here? The file example.txt is going to open, and we are going to writing this to a file, and then we have closed the file. Now in order to verify the kind of output of this program, please check your current working directory, because this example.txt will be in the current working directory only, and when you open this example.txt you are going to have only one line here which is writing this to a file, and then there is a myFile.close. Now next, so basically what we have done here is the first operation, which is generally performed on an object of one of these classes. Which classes I am talking about? I am talking about these if stream, off stream and f stream classes. So whenever we are going to create an object of these classes, the first operation which is to be performed on these objects is to associate it to a real file, and this what we have done. We have created one object which is my file, and we have associated that my file with an actual file which is example.txt, and now this process, this attachment process, is actually known as is actually kind of, we can say, opening a file. This procedure is known as to open a file, and an open file is represented within the program by a stream. Now this is very important, I am repeating it again. An open file is represented within a program by a stream. That means for our program an open file is actually a stream, that is an object of one of these classes, and in our object it was, in our program it was, the name is my file. So my file is the object of the class, and now that is associated with example.txt, and opening that file is actually representing is actually a kind of representation of that file as a stream within the program. So any input or output operation performed on this stream object will be applied to the physical file associated with it. So whatever input and output operation, whatever is permitted, if you have created the object of if stream or of stream or f stream, so depending upon the class or depending upon the facilities available, any input or output operation performed on this stream object will be applied to the physical file which is associated to this, and here it was kind of the name was example.txt. And in order to open a file with a stream object, we use the member function open, and open is having kind of only one compulsory parameter, another one is kind of non-compulsory because there are standard modes. So the parameters for this open function are file name that we have we can say that we have passed, which is example.txt, but we have not passed mode, because in this case when we are talking about of a stream, that means the mode is clear. I am going to take this concept in a short while, and if there would have been an if stream, then also the kind of default mode is clear. So in order to open a file with a stream object, we need to use this member function open, and the compulsory parameter here is the we can say file name, and the mode is a parameter which is non-compulsory. So we have opened the file. If you can see it into the kind of my file dot open example dot txt, that example.txt has been opened here. Now coming to the next situation, when we talk about, so this was writing something onto a file. Now we are still left with, let's say we have a file which is existing and that file is having something, and now what do we want to do? We want to read the contents of that particular file. So in order to read the contents of that particular file, in the previous example we have created an object of a stream class. Here we will be creating the object of if stream class, because here we need to read the contents of file. Now the program says hash include iostream.h, then we need to include fstream because that's the header file which is responsible for providing us the methods which will deal with file. iostream will provide us with kind of cin and cout, which are going to deal with standard input and output devices, but if we actually want to deal with files, we need to have this fstream header file. We have included one more header file which is a string, because here I will be using kind of a string object within the program which is to be read from the file. And within the main file we have seen there is one object of class string which is a string read file, and in the next line, which is if stream my file, we have kind of combined the two things. One is creation of the object my file, which is the object of class if stream, and association of that my file with the actual real file which is stored on the hard disk, and here it has been named as temp file.txt. We can also take that example.txt which we have seen in the previous example. And now as we are kind of combining the two things, please recall the last program in which I have done these two tasks separately. One is of a stream my file, and then attachment of that my file by my file dot open example dot txt. Those two actions are actually combined here in a single statement which says if a stream my file, and within the parameter I am passing the name of the file, which could be example.txt or any other file which is present in the current working directory. Now why I am insisting on current working directory, because we are just giving here the name, not the complete path. And similarly, as I have told you that there are default modes in which you want to open. So here we want to open the file in an input mode, and this input mode is actually signified by iOS and then double colon in. So the whole statement will be like this: if a stream my file within the bracket temp file.txt in the double inverted commas or example.txt, and this double inverted commas we have already seen in the previous program, but in the previous program we have not defined the mode of opening the file. Here I am also defining the mode. There are many standard modes, in, out, and so on and so forth. So here we are specifying the mode as iOS double colon operator in. This command is going to create an object of my file, create an object of if a stream class named as my file, associate that object with temp file.txt, and then the third thing, it is going to open that in the input mode. Now here in the next line we just want to make sure that whether the file is open or not, and the method for this is underscore open. So I have written if my file dot is underscore open, that means whether that object has been created associated with that, and that file is open. If the file is open, now my program is ready to read the contents, or we can say the file does not exist, because if it is not opening in the mode, in the input mode, that means it does not exist. So here we are going to check, because we are going to read the contents. In the previous program the checking was although required but not necessary, because we are going to write something onto the file, and if the file is not there, it is being created. So here we have checked if my file dot is underscore open, that means whether the file associated with this particular object is open, then whatever is written inside the curly brackets, that will be taking place. And what is written inside the curly brackets is while get line my file comma read file, and that means you need to take line, or maybe you can say we need to read the contents of this my file of the file associated with this my file in the form of an string. And what is this read file? Please recall, this read file is nothing but an object of type string. So that means whatever is taken from that particular file in the form of an string. Which file we are talking about? The file which is associated with the my file is stored in this read file string. So here while get line my file read file, and my file read file are basically two parameters. So read file, if you are getting confused, you can say string s. So we can say while get line my file comma s, and you need to say cout read file. Now see what is happening here. So cout, when we say cout, by default takes your whatever you are going to give after the stream operator, that will be displayed onto the screen. But here we are talking about a particular file. So we have taken the input from the file, and with the help of cout we will be displaying that. So what is the agenda for this particular program? That this is going to take the contents, or this is going to read the contents of the file which is associated with the my file object, and then take it line by line, or one string at a time, and then it is going to print it onto the screen. So it will take the input from the file, print it onto the screen. The previous program was about taking the input from here and printing it onto the screen. This program is taking the input from the file and outputting it onto the standard screen with the help of cout. And when this whole process is done, that means while we are getting some strings, while we are getting some lines from this file which is associated with my file, we will keep on doing this, because this is in a while loop, and we will keep on kind of we can say printing it onto the screen. And after this whole process, my file dot close command is written, because we don't want to leave the files open in the memory. So my file dot close. Now this whole scenario is under the circumstances that my file dot is open is getting a success. Now what if my file dot is open is not getting a success? That means there is no such file with that particular name. So then in that situation we also need to tell the user that this file does not exist. So when this file does not exist, so if my file is open, we need to take it line by line and then print it, close the file for a clean exit. And if this my file dot is open is giving you a negative response, that means the file is not opening, there is something wrong. And what's the kind of we can say biggest possibility is the file does not exist. So we have written cout file does not exist, so that our user at least kind of have this have this notion that file does not exist. This information should be kind of disseminated to the user at least. And then we have kind of finished it with the return 0. So till this point what we have seen is first program we have taken through which we are going to write something into a file, and through the second program we have seen that file is already existing. We are going to open that file into kind of we can say read mode, you can say, and then we have taken the contents, we have read those contents, and then those contents are actually kind of we can say displayed onto the screen. So this was we have done in these two programs. Now if you remember, I have used one mode which is iOS :in. Now let us try to see what is this iOS :in. We need to drill down into this. So each of the open member functions of the classes of stream, if stream and f stream, they have a default mode, and this we have discussed in our previous lecture. And that default mode is used if the file is opened without a second argument, as we have done in our first program. In the second program I have specified the name of the file as well as the default mode parameter also. But if default mode parameter is not mentioned, there is kind of, or the mode parameter is not mentioned, there is a kind of default. So for class of stream, whenever we are creating an object of class of a stream, the default mode parameter is iOS :out. Whenever there is the object of class if stream, the default mode parameter is iOS :in, and whenever there is the object of class f stream, the default mode parameter could be both iOS :in or iOS :out. So default mode parameter for off stream object is out, default mode parameter for if stream object is in, and default mode parameter for f stream object is, it could be either of the two. Now these are, you know, also we can say flags which are used in order to signify that how this file is being opened and how this is, you know, going to help us. So whenever we are saying ios:\in, that means the file is open for input operation. Whenever we are going to say ios:\out in between, of course, that means the file is open for output operations. Then whenever we want to deal with the binary mode, we will say ios:\binary, that means the file is open in binary mode. Or as mode we can also specify ios:\ate. This AT is actually related to the initial position of the head, we can say, from through which we can begin to read or write. So if this ios:\8 flag is not set, the initial position is the beginning of the file. Similarly, we have two, you know, kind of more modes, which are ios:\app and ios:\trunk as well. Now in order to collect till this point that whatever we have, you know, kind of we can say learn in this lecture is, we along with the basics, we have started with two basically programs. One program was about the we can say writing into the file, and we have, you know, created a file and, you know, opened it into the specific modes, and we have written the file. Second program was about taking the outputs taking the inputs from the file and printing it onto the output screen, and the assumption here is that file is already, you know, kind of created, and we are going to open that file, read the contents line by line, and then we are going to display that. And apart from that, we have seen some default modes, some flags like ios:\in and ios:\out or ios:\ate for we can say how to control or how to fine tune the file handling process in C++. So here is the list of references which is being used for the preparation of a lecture. Hope you had a fruitful learning. Thank you.